Hello, my loves. Welcome to the dollhouse. I am the doll. Today I'm going to be talking about strategies on how to fight properly. We're going to get into that, but first I have to give a little explanation of my hiatus. I have been merging my life with my new husband. I have upgraded from fiance to wife now. So I'm so happy to have my Mr. Right in my life. And I'm going to be talking later about decentered dating strategies, the strategies that worked for me. If you'd like to listen in, look for that sometime soon. I don't know when because I'm just going with the flow right now. And time is relative over here in the dollhouse. We do things based on feeling. And if it feels right, we roll with it. If not, then we don't. So moving on to the strategies that will help you to handle conflict in your life. I'm going to do this from the focus on what not to do. What not to do. A few weeks ago, we witnessed a showdown in the colorism sector where Exoticals United gathered Chrissy by her 4C, her 40-inch 4C, and dragged her content back into the Blackistan abyss. And a more current example of what not to do in conflict comes from reality star and Real Housewife of Atlanta alumna Kenya Moore. Kenya Moore is in the news for fighting dirty. Like Nene said, you can never win when you play dirty. Well, she plays dirty all the time. Kenya, she wants to get the last laugh, the last word in. And it really diminishes her bright side because, there are instances when she's so fun and she's drop dead gorgeous. She was Miss America. She was the first Black Miss America. I absolutely had her poster on my wall as a child. So we love Kenya Moore, but her personality on the show, sometimes it left me feeling like I wanted something different. So Kenya attacked a woman basically for having a personal life. And she also alleged that the woman was getting paid to have sex. Like, she said $1,400 or something like that, which, listen, there are people out here giving it up for $40. So whatever this girl wanted to do, I think her name is Brittany Edie. It just flashed back into my mind. Whatever this girl chose to do, Kenya felt like it was worthy to shame her over and blow up pictures of her in the act of fellatio, which is giving head. She was mid-act, this new cast member, Brittany. Kenya, I don't know, obtained the pictures of it from somewhere and put them on posters, made posters, custom posters of this image and more, apparently, and revealed them at a business launch. She launched her new hair care facility, Kenya Moore Hair Care, Kenya's hair spa in Atlanta, and she released these photos at her launch, taking energy away from herself to drag somebody else down. And if you're, doing that, it's just hitting below the belt. Okay? And that's, just something that really has dragged Kenya down to the point now she has gotten fired from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And she's been a cast member since season 5. She's brought us so many magical moments. But yeah, she's fired. Now maybe she'll move on to something else. It'll push her into more success with her hair care products. Also, potentially more movies because she was involved with Hollywood production for a time. So yeah, anyway, she's gotten fired. So just that kind of attack did not work for her. And she lost her main source of revenue. Conflict is a natural part of life, and there's a way to work. There's a way to approach it that could work against you. Number one, if you're approaching it like Kenya, you are going below the belt. That is the number one thing not to do when in conflict. Don't be the one to go below the belt. I would never advise making unnecessary insults or trying to shame someone just stick to the ideas that they're presenting that are flawed. And, you know, with regard to the Exotical showdown with Chrissy, I know I'm so late, y'all. I have been just in a bubble of bliss over here, living it up and loving it up. So I did not get to chime in when Chrissy was trying to rebut our channels, but she lost relevance in her conflict with Exoticals United, trying to pretend that she was stalking her because she made a comment on a video years ago. I mean, it doesn't add up. Like, and saying that the content in this sector is fueled by her and that brown-skinned exoticals should be ashamed for identifying with the content. That's another thing. She tried to shame brown-skinned, dark-skinned women for identifying with this content, as if they don't benefit from beauty privilege or, you know, whatever privilege that is associated with being exotical. Over here, that's what it means. Just pretty privilege, period. PPP, baby. Get your exotical tax, as Exoticals United would say. So just the ad hominem attacks like psychoticals, it just really diminished her to me. And rather than addressing the actual content idea, she tried to flip things. Rather than actually leaning into her statements, she could have just said this. This is what, if I were Chrissy and I, had time to grow, had time to reflect and listen to some of the content over here. Because it just doesn't seem like she's listened. She's listened to the most insulting things. She's taken offense to someone laughing at jokes that a man made. She's taken offense to being wrong. She's taken offense to the light being shown on her that she is wrong. So rather than just addressing the actual offenses, she tried to flip things. She could have just leaned into what she said. Like, I'm not a Chrissy follower, but I did run across her videos years ago when I was just gobbling up level up content. Shout out to Shira7. And even Mickey, jailbird ass. Anyway, I was gobbling up that content and she appeared with a unique voice, and I listened to two of her shows. I think I listened to one show and then I listened to a different show, and then I heard her say something about light-skinned women that turned me completely off, and I just never watched another video. So what she said, it was indefensible, and it's okay because sometimes we do things like that. Like, I have said plenty of things that are indefensible. So what I do is don't try to defend those things, but lean into the fact that I've grown. I make errors. I am human. And these errors can be improved upon. Because her audience appreciates growth, and that's why a lot of people are over here. A great majority of the people that follow Exotical's content already knew who Chrissy was long before we emerged. So she has lost a bit of relevance by not just owning herself. Again, conflict is a natural part of life, and going below the belt is one of the really terrible things that you do not want to do that will work against you winning. Another thing not to do is to bite the hand that feeds you. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. This is something that Chrissy has done repeatedly, and that's probably why her channel is somewhat stagnant, because people like me who like her insights just don't like that bigotry, basically, let's call it what it is, against light-skinned women. She turned me off, and I know she's probably turned off tons of caramel-colored women, chocolate women who identify with exotical content, just trying to allude that they're weird for identifying with the content. You don't have to agree with a person's thoughts, but you definitely don't have to disagree. Just keep your opinion on their thoughts to yourself. When I say bite the hand that feeds you, I'm talking about the people that pay you. Chrissy's audience pays her, and she relies on growth in order to stimulate more revenue. But, for the listeners, people in the dollhouse, they may have clients, they may have a boss. You might have a manager who you have to suffer through working with. And you have to manage these relationships like an expert. You just want to resist the urge to engage in conflict. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Be very strategic. If you are dealing with the boss, dealing with people who pay you, just keep your comments about how they think or how it offends you to yourself. Keep it to yourself until you are ready to move on. Or just keep it to yourself, period. Because a lot of things don't need to be said. But if you have a boss, you definitely want to be ready to be promoted over them. Or you must be in a position to be moving into a new company. Something like that. You just want to strategize. That's the key. And you don't want to outshine the master. That's the number one rule in the 48 laws of power. Don't outshine the master. Temper your reactions with patience and kindness. That means just don't react. Don't initially react, which might be hard for some people. It has been hard for me to learn to bite my tongue. And believe me, I have not mastered it. But when I do, if I take a couple minutes to digest what I would have liked to say, I always find a way to regurgitate it with patience and kindness. And you can be kind in conflict. Absolutely. There can be rules to conflict. And if your livelihood depends on it, it's better to learn those rules. And if you're in conflict with someone who you are really helpless against, like a boss, and you want to navigate that relationship and try to preserve things and just keep things calm, when they're expressing how they're displeased, just say something like, okay, I hear you. I understand. I can see your perspective. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to proceed. What do we do from here? I can see your perspective. Or I hear what you're saying. What do you don't have to say, listen, what you're saying is wrong. Or you don't even have to say what they're saying is right. But just you definitely saying, I hear you. What should we do to go from here? How should we proceed? That can set the track for you guys to move forward. You avoid conflict. They can't drag you in. And you might have some proof that would get them fired. You can just say nothing too. That's always an option. So avoid conflict altogether if you are dealing with someone who can shape your life and livelihood. Avoid conflict, period, if you can. That's the best way to navigate conflict. It's the art of peace, the art of peace. The art of war is another thing to learn, but the art of peace is also something to master. And I think it gets ignored for the art of war, because in a patriarchal system, we're living with men who they understand that war is inevitable. So they're going to promote the book that is more sensational, The Art of War. But The Art of Peace is another book that exists that I would recommend women who have privilege, women who walk around looking cute. I would recommend knowing the tenets in The Art of Peace, because avoiding conflict is key. Okay. Maybe we'll do a book club or something like that. Again, I guess the third strategy for how to fight properly is just to stop caring. You won't fight. You will avoid conflict if you just don't care what other people think. I would have I avoided a lot of fights if I didn't really care about the other person's opinion. If I didn't get riled up and combative. I doubt Kenya Moore would have gotten into the conflict that she was in if she didn't care about what other people thought or what Brittany Eady thought about her. She probably wouldn't have been dragged by Portia Williams if she didn't get so offended by Portia pointing out personality flaws. But as they say in the South, a hit dog will holler, okay? The same goes for Chrissy. She was only offended by Exotical's content because her flaws were exposed. If she just didn't care and accepted, like, we can see your cracks. And just be like, yeah, I got cracks. I can mend them, though. You know, I got some mending material in me. So just lean into some of those imperfections, because people like to identify with the real you. And stop caring about what people think. Just, it's okay to show imperfection. And also, it's even better if you can show growth. You know, and even if you do care about what people think now, just act like you don't. And eventually you really won't. Eventually you really won't. Especially if you get to my age, you know. If you never address the hate against you, it will typically vanish into thin air. You know who does really good at that? Beyonce. She lets drama just vanish into thin air. So, yeah, this is how I would advise all the dolls to avoid conflict, to navigate conflict. Worst, if you have to engage, don't go below the belt. If you have to engage, that's like the worst case scenario. But if you can, just don't engage at all. Don't engage at all. Stop caring. And definitely don't bite the hand that feeds you. You know, if you disagree with how a person or entity is moving, stay focused on the ideas rather than like ad hominem attacks, trying to call them fat, trying to call them crazy, psychotical. Just, that's weak. If you have to resort to that, you really don't have a leg to stand on with regard to the ideas. So I appreciate y'all that have tuned back in. I know I've been gone, but I'm never really gone. So just stay tuned. And when I have something worth talking about, I will. I'm certainly going to be talking about dating, decentered dating, because I had success with it. So my ladies, especially women who are middle-aged like me, I'm 44 years old. If you want to talk about dating in a decentered way, look forward to more content. And I love you guys. I will be talking to you soon.